Welcome to Moving People Forward with Mark Elfstrand. This program is a series of conversations on commonly seen challenges in everyday people's lives. We hope you'll be inspired by the stories you hear today. Perhaps you know of someone who would also benefit. Be sure to share the program link with a friend. Now, here's Mark.
In 2007, three men from Wheaton, Illinois were meeting over a weekly breakfast. Well, the trio came up with a new idea for a rather interesting concept for a small business, one that would provide not only fresh coffee, but also fresh starts, and thus the birth of the Second Chance Coffee Company. It wasn't that those three men needed a second chance in life. They all had witnessed the challenge that former felons face in trying to get into the job market. So they set out to do something about it in a very difficult economic time. With me today on Moving People Forward is Pete Leonard, coffee aficionado and CEO of I Have a Bean Coffee. Pete, welcome.
Well, thanks.
So you got two different names for this. I mean, I mentioned the Second Chance Coffee Company, but then we have I Have a Bean. What is the real name here?
Right. So actually, I have two first names, Pete and Leonard. So it just kind of goes with it. Second Chance Coffee Company, we founded the business of Second Chance Coffee Company. We thought it was the best name in the world because of what we were doing.
Yeah.
Right? Giving second chances to post-prison people.
Right.
We tried to sell coffee then under that brand name, and people shortened it what they were saying to Second Chance Coffee. And then people said second hand coffee, and then they started thinking second best coffee. And we're all about top 1% coffee, the best coffee that you can get. And Second Chance didn't go with what we were really trying to do. Certainly the mission. You get it when you know the mission, like, oh, that's why you're Second Chance Coffee. But if you don't know the mission first, somebody said, so what, the coffee wasn't good enough the first time you had it, you needed to roast it again, it needed another chance? And it's like, no, that's not what it was. So we rebranded as I Have a Bean, and that goes right with Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream, that concept. So we actually had to hire a professional out of California to come up with that name. For us. The three of us literally argued, okay, we discussed for about 9 months different names for the business, possibilities. We came up with about 550 names between the three of us.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree on any of them.
Right.
Hired a professional. In less than 10 days, she came up with 50 very nice brand names for us, with I Have a Bean being the one she recommended.
Yeah.
And so 3 days later, we said, after much discussion, let's go with that.
Yeah, that's quite a process, though.
Yeah.
So just quickly, tell me about the other two visionaries with you on this.
Yeah, so Dave and Ron were both part of the business getting started. All of us, as you noted in the beginning, have some experience with people who have been in prison, have gotten out of prison, and then have a tough time finding work.
Right.
Dave was working for Koinonia House, volunteering his time to do their bookkeeping.
Which is a ministry in the Chicago area.
Yeah, in the Chicago area. And it's I will use the term halfway house. Manny Mill, who runs Koinonia House, would whack me upside the head. It's not a halfway house, it's a whole way house.
Yeah, right.
So he understood the plight of post-prison men through Koinonia House. And when I had a relative who went to prison, a very close relative of mine, he went to prison, saw him when he got out of prison, just all the trouble that it was for him to live life normally. Dave invited me to breakfast, and then he invited me to the Koinonia House annual fundraiser. And there I heard the statistics about recidivism, and heard from a lot more people than just my brother-in-law, who is the one I knew who had been to prison.
Right.
His story was replicated and repeated with some nuances through a number of people.
Yeah.
And so we were looking at the time, this is going back to 2006, 2007 timeframe. 700,000 men and women are released from prison every year into the U.S. Chicagoland, 20,000 men and women are released into Cook County and the Collar counties every year. And Illinois has the second highest recidivism rate in the U.S. at right now 51%. Back then it was 63 or 64%.
Yeah.
Meaning within 3 years, the people that get out go back to prison. One of the major reasons for that is they can't find work.
Yeah.
Society is a lot like my brain used to be, like my heart used to be. I don't want anything to do with somebody who's been to prison.
Yeah.
Because
The risks.
I think it's fear that we think there's risk. There's more risk than we think there is.
Right.
Or it's the other way around. We think there's more risk than there really is. But when you know someone who's been to prison, that changes everything, and it did for me.
Yeah.
So
okay. Now the thing is, though, that's this side of it, the felon side of it. But there's a coffee side of this as well.
Right.
And if I understood it right, you even built like your own little coffee roastery, with like stuff from IKEA. Is that right?
Okay. So yes, there are two parts to this.
Okay.
I went to Brazil on a short-term mission trip
yeah.
with my church.
Right.
Saw somebody, the owner of a coffee plantation, roasting coffee over an open fire. His wife was feeding sticks into the fire to keep the flames up.
Sure.
He was turning a crank by hand, holding a stainless steel sphere over the fire that had his coffee beans in it. And they were cracking and popping and smoking and smelling wonderful. And we just thought, that is too cool. The coffee was so good. I bought 10 pounds of his roasted coffee beans. The intent was to bring them back to the States, give them as gifts to the people that paid my way to go on that trip. And a lot of us did that. We came back with, I don't know, 100 pounds of coffee, something like that. We did not get stopped by customs. The dogs didn't sniff out cocaine or anything in the coffee beans, right? It's often used to protect that or to hide the smell.
Yeah.
I bought 10 pounds. I got back to the States. I drank 8 of those pounds before I had a chance to give any away. So the last 2 pounds were pretty expensive for the people that donated money to send me on that trip.
I've done that with chocolate, by the way.
With chocolate.
Yeah, I have good intent.
Yeah, exactly. But the chocolate somehow never gets out the door. So I did that. We brought the beans back.
Right.
And I got to the end of that coffee, and I thought, okay, what am I going to do now? I actually called the guy in Brazil to see if I could get more. Yeah. And that was impossible. He had a contract with the country of Brazil. They're the '1 producer of coffee in the world, and it's a state staple, right? A lot of country income is derived from coffee, the trade of coffee. So he was not able to sell it to me. So I found somebody in the States who has green coffee. They actually live by a coffee importer. So they can just drive over to the warehouse, get a 150-pound sack of whatever they want, and then divide it up amongst people on the internet who want to say, I'd like 5 pounds of green Kenyan coffee.
Okay.
And I'll roast it at home. This is where the IKEA shelf came in.
So you actually, you did build your own roastery there.
I built a roasting machine.
Yeah.
That runs in my Weber gas grill.
Yeah, I see.
And I used an IKEA shelf. Yeah. And I cut it up and turned it into a cylinder and actually riveted 2 4-quart stainless steel pots on the end of it, cooking pots.
Yeah.
And ran the chicken spit through the whole thing. So I had a drum that turned in the grill, and I could just turn up the fire or not and roast coffee.
You are an innovative guy. We're going to need to take a break here, and we're going to hear more about this wonderful story that, well, when you find out what somebody wants to do to help others, and they do it in such a creative fashion, you have to give them your admiration. Pete Leonard is my guest, coffee aficionado, and again, CEO of I Have a Bean Coffee. We'll have more coming up after this break.
God is our safe place and our strength. He is always our help when we are in trouble. This word of God in Psalm 46:1 says it all. God is our safe place. He is our strength. He is our help when we are in trouble. Whenever and wherever we are invited, nationally or internationally, Lutheran Church Charity's mission is to bring the mercy, compassion, presence, and proclamation of Jesus Christ to those who are suffering and in need. LCC is a ministry of presence, to be present with Jesus, to lift up people in times of joy and sorrow, in prayer, and by passing through donations of dollar per dollar to those in need. Through our canine ministries, we respond and deploy with boots on the ground and paws within 24 hours, often sooner, of any crisis or disaster situation we're invited into. You see, for us, the bottom line is making a difference by being present for people who are suffering and in need with that mercy, compassion, presence of Jesus Christ. Thank you again for allowing us the privilege to stand alongside and serve others. Jesus and your partnership make that possible to touch thousands of lives.
This is Moving People Forward. I'm Mark Elfstrand, and we're discussing business as mission with a direct connection to ex-felons. And my guest is Pete Leonard, and Pete is a coffee aficionado and the CEO of I Have a Bean Coffee. Okay, so where we left off in the story, you have this IKEA-like machine that you have created, but somehow this turns into a business. Not only a business, but you have a storefront and everything. So how did that happen?
Yeah, so we actually have a roasting plant, and we're not roasting in the grill anymore.
I see. Yeah,
that was just for fun at home.
Yeah.
But I did learn how to roast coffee on that grill, and I learned what would be necessary if we were going to start a business. What kind of roasting machine would we have to have?
Okay.
And so we designed and built another one. When we decided to start the business in 2007, we needed a roasting machine that would let people who don't know anything about coffee roasting, and at first I was thinking, well, so they're post-prison people. What are they going to know about roasting coffee?
Right.
But the fact is, they're not any different than the rest of the public. You don't know anything about roasting coffee.
I don't.
Right?
Right.
So
I do drink a lot of it.
Right,
but,
exactly.
Yeah.
So we needed a machine that would allow somebody who had no skill in roasting coffee to roast perfect coffee every single time without knowing anything about how to do it. They could learn, but they didn't have to know that first. And it needed to happen, that skill, within less than 8 months, because our business was, we were going to hire post-prison people who came out of Koinonia House, so they were part of Koinonia House, Christian felons, people who knew the Lord, had a mistake in their past that sent them to prison.
Okay.
Now things are different. We need to give them a chance. Now, between then and now, and it's been a long time, a decade, more than a decade, we've hired maybe 2 people that came out of Koinonia House because there's a lot of people that need work in the post-prison world. So we've certainly been able to take advantage of that, getting Christian felons, but not everybody who works for me is. It's a mission field in its own.
Yeah.
But if they're only there for 8 months, and it takes normally 2 years to learn how to roast coffee, we would always be teaching people how to roast and never producing great coffee. So our business model, being a for-profit business, is we want people buying the product because it's great, not only because we have a social mission, a very good one and very unique one. So that's what we designed and built, a computer-controlled roasting system. It took us 2 years to design, build it, and that's what we're roasting on right now. It's called the Beanmaster 5000.
Oh, okay. So there's a lot of creativity that went into this
yes,
on various
quite a bit.
levels
Yeah.
of this. Okay, but now you've got the storefront. So if I came into, I Have a Bean, and I wanted to just get coffee, I just kind of like another famous coffee company, I imagine I could just go in and buy a pound or 2 of coffee.
You
right?
can.
Do you also have tables in there where I can sit and have coffee?
We don't in the roasting plant, not per se.
Sure.
We do have a thing called Free Coffee Friday. Anybody can show up at the roasting plant on Friday morning between 7 a.m. and 1 p.m.
Right.
Just walk in the front door and we just brew and serve coffee and give it away. It's a great way for people to taste the new stuff that we're doing. And frankly, it's turned into a neighborhood party every Friday morning at our roasting plant. So people are standing and talking. There are people that are doing Bible studies there. There are people that are just catching up with a neighbor, people meeting people.
Right.
So it's a great time. And you can certainly buy a pound or 2 or 10 of freshly roasted coffee in there. We have a coffee shop that's inside the local public library. There you can get cappuccinos and espressos and all of that, along with fresh baked goods, scones and muffins and cookies that we make all that stuff from scratch.
Okay, so is there a growth strategy? Do you have now multiple locations like this?
In my head, we have multiple locations just like this,
But
not in reality yet. So our goal is 72 roasting plants like the one we have in Wheaton, Illinois.
Okay.
Spread across the United States.
Yeah.
You know, people are getting out of prison and
Yeah.
needing work all over the U.S. And fortunately, people drink coffee all over the U.S.
Right.
So that's the goal. And then a new roasting machine. So the one we have, the Beanmaster 5000, is being replaced with the Beanmaster 2.0 that
Oh,
I've been
my
working on
goodness.
for the last 4 years.
Okay.
It's 3 times the capacity of the one that we have now.
Okay.
So we're working on that, and that'll be the one that we use to build multiple roasting plants.
Okay, so anybody who drinks coffee knows you can get coffee, as you do, from various places around the world.
Around the world.
So you must have narrowed your, at least your buying search to a certain group of countries, right? I mean,
There are a series of countries that we like to buy coffee
Okay.
from. We know them well. Ethiopia being probably the first. It's the birthplace of coffee. All coffee in the world originated in Ethiopia. All of it. There was no coffee anywhere other than Ethiopia hundreds of years ago. Now it's all over. But there are farmers and farming communities that we know well, their coffee well, and so we tend to buy from them on a annual or actually biannual basis, not semi-annual,
Sure.
biannual basis, because coffee quality is great this year from this farm, and like wine grapes, next year it's probably not going to be as good. So we'll buy from a neighbor or somebody else in that country, and we'll alternate those to make sure that the coffee is always in the top 1% from a quality standpoint.
so what is the best-selling coffee that I Have a Bean offers?
The one we're known for is our Ethiopian coffee.
It is,
It's
okay.
also the most expensive one. It's the rarest that there is.
Is it a medium roast?
It's
or?
a medium. That one happens to be a medium light roast. And
Okay.
when we bring an Ethiopian coffee in, it's got flavors. We don't add any flavors to it. It's how God made it, and we roasted it.
Yeah.
Blueberry, raspberry, chocolate, maybe some lemon that are the natural flavor notes that are in that coffee, and they're very strong and very prominent. People first time they drink the Ethiopian, they take a sip and like, wow, I've never had coffee like this before. I can't even believe this is coffee. So that's what we've become known for. But we have coffees from around the world. Java, Sumatra, Java being an island in Indonesia,
Yeah.
we call coffee Java. But Mexico, Guatemala, you name it, we have coffee from there.
Okay, so somebody buys the coffee, and then somehow there's a profit out of this for-profit business.
There is.
And is that to help you become wealthy so you can
Oh
go
yes,
to...
I'm fabulously wealthy now. No, the fact is we sell as a for-profit business because
Yes.
it needs to be sustainable as a business. I want the business to continue even after I'm gone.
Sure.
So it has to be able to pay people and turn on the lights and pay the rent and
Right.
buy more coffee beans and expand. Right? If I'm going to open another roasting plant, the money has to come from somewhere to
Right.
make that happen. So that's how profit gets used to expand the business and be able to impact more people, more post-prison people and their families.
Yeah. Now, is the caffeine content the same in all coffee beans?
That's a good question, and no, it isn't. Caffeine content from one variety of coffee to another can vary dramatically.
Wow.
We're not talking about decaf, obviously, but
Yeah.
we had a coffee from Costa Rica one year that was so strong, from a caffeine standpoint,
Yeah.
we were warning pregnant women at the local outdoor farmers market that we are selling coffee at, you might not want to have this. I mean, I had one 12-ounce cup and my hand was shaking. It was really powerful from a caffeine standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it varies, and there's no easy test other than drinking it and watching your hand be steady or not to know how much caffeine there is in it.
Okay, just at the end of the day here, you did this to help these felons who've come out of that very negative experience and to give them hope
Right.
and a revived sense of purpose.
Right.
Is that happening?
Oh, absolutely. So we're a small roasting company. We have about 8 employees at
Yeah.
a time. But since we started, we've employed almost 60 post-prison people. And the life change that we get to see in those people is astounding, just astounding. Our very first employee, his name was Jim. He roasted for us when we were roasting 1 day a week. I mean, we had big business back then,
yeah.
1 day a week. Jim's love and his skill set is in auto mechanics, not coffee roasting. In fact, he didn't even like coffee, but he needed a place to work. He worked for us for a year and then applied to work at People's Gas, local gas company here, regional gas company, working on their trucks. So that was 8 years ago. Today, Jim is managing all of the truck mechanics for People's Gas. He's married, he's got kids, his oldest daughter is on her way to college.
Yeah.
So it's that and almost 60 stories just like that.
Yeah.
People going from prison to and non-productivity, being productive for the other side, to being productive members of society, and in many cases, God-honoring.
Well, I love the concept, and I just really admire the work you've done and the heart that you have for people in all of this. If people want more information, we need to wrap up here quickly, but the website, how do people find out more about I Have a Bean?
Well, you just said it, ihaveabean.com.
Okay.
Right, just go there, buy coffee, we'll roast it today. You order it today, we roast it today, you'll get it today, and if you're in Honolulu, you'll have it tomorrow.
Wow. Okay.
Overnight for free.
Very good. ihaveabean.com.
.com.
Very good.
Perfect.
Pete Leonard, thanks so much
Thank
for
you.
being with us today. Well, that is our program for today. As the sages have told us, grow in wisdom, think humbly of yourself, and love one another. And may it be so with you. Join me next time for more of Moving People Forward. I'm Mark Elfstrand.